Hey guys, I'm Janet, on occasion, and today we're playing another Total War Warhammer II Battle Replay. So this one is a little bit different. This is another tournament game. I'm not actually casting one of mine though. This is from the Total War Fantasy League's qualifying round. This is the second round of qualifiers for the Total War Fantasy League, and yeah, this is Pippington versus Scrible. So this is a cool one. So yeah, I'm going to be casting a load of these games, which is pretty cool. So here you can see it's a vampire count played by Pippington, and Scrible is playing as the Beastman. So I really like this game. It's got some interesting stuff going on. So as you can see here, Pippington has zombies in the front line. He's got Graveguard as his sort of, you know, solid front line. And he's got Skeleton Spearmen here as well on the sides to fend off any cavalry. And he's got Crypt Horrors, 3 units. You never see Crypt Horrors anymore. But here they serve a fantastic purpose, because they've got a lot of mass. It's going to be very difficult for people to drive through the Crypt Horrors to get to the Mortis engine. So there's going to be a lot of stuff protecting that Mortis engine, you know, from any, you know, sort of, well, any engagement, to be honest. You know, throw in anything like a Gore Bull or something, you can just get it completely surrounded. And that Mortis engine can sneak out, which I absolutely love, because the Mortis engine will have a hell of an effect on this battle. You know, it'll really affect the Beastmen. It'll whittle down their health, it'll terrify them, and it'll also give a nice healing aura to all the units defending it. So I really like this. Also, you can see Manfred's over here on his zombie dragon, and he's got a Terrorgeist with him. Also down here you can see the Dire Pack. So the Dire Pack, very good. They're anti-large, very quick, so they're going to be very useful for trying to help sort of screen Centaurs and catch them, hopefully. So pretty cool. So a lot of anti-large, you know, very formidable air force there. A lot of maneuverability, and something that can just blob up and tank a lot of damage. So, you know, he's got answers to things here. So here you can see Centaurs with throwing axes. They're coming in already. So 3 units of them. Also, you can see he's got some Bestigors in the front line. I think, is that a unit there? No, that's Chaos Spawn. So he's got Bestigors, Chaos Spawn, some Ungor Spearmen, some more Spearmen, Ungor Raiders in the back, 3 units of them, 2 more Spearmen, more Bestigors, more Chaos Spawn. Here you can see he's got a Bray Shaman of Death, and he's led by Morka the Shadowgave. So Bray Shaman of Death, pretty common pick against vampire counts, because it just lets you Spirit Leech the hell out of their, you know, their heroes. Which is very useful, because you want to take them down. He's also got Fate of Buna by the looks of it, so that'll also be really useful for taking on sort of Blood Knights and, you know, terrifying cavalry like that. So here, straight away, this is a fantastic move, because these zombies are just here to soak up, you know, axes from these guys, but they are formidable in melee. So Scrible, clever move here, he just smacks the zombies. You know, takes out half the unit on one charge, takes no damage himself, and now he's free to start throwing his axes at things. So that is a really good way just to get rid of those screening units nice and quickly. And you don't often see that. Honestly, people just keep kiting around, but yeah, just a quick charge, it knocks the whole unit down, and the rest of the army walks past it, and suddenly they've lost that shield, you know, that meat shield of theirs. So over here, the Die Pack are running in, but being collapsed by all of those guys, that is really rough. You know, one-on-one, the Die Pack can do pretty well if they get the charge off, but 3 units at once is pretty rough. But it didn't bait in a great breath attack here. But that is the Die Pack gone straight away. Again here, though, you can see the zombies are going to be pinning some of these guys down, so it definitely helps. You know, it's going to affect their leadership a bit, but they're pretty comfortable, though, unfortunately. So here, you've got the Terror guys sort of probing slightly, but the front line is slowly moving forward. That's the thing with vampire counts, you know, they're going to be very plodding, but very dangerous once they get to their target. So here the zombies that have been summoned, they're just, yeah, they're getting mopped up. So again, it's just good, just charging in with something that can do some damage to the zombies, just stop them having that meat shield, you know. It definitely helps. You could just walk away from them, but with the front line engaging, you know, sort of moving in, you want to be able to make sure your throwing axes are being thrown at good targets. You don't want these guys just wasting you, you know, or just basically wasting your resources. Here, though, he looks like he's comfortable having the Ungor Raiders try and take them down nice and quickly. Bestigor coming in to quickly mop them up. The zombies are going to do no damage to the Bestigors, so this is totally fine, just to get rid of them nice and early. Because, you know, it's not going to do any damage, but that's some Winds of Magic that have been used there, you know, that he's not going to get back. So, although Manfred is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to regenerating Winds of Magic, so, you know, there'll be plenty more, I'm sure. So, yeah, just more probing, but vampire line is still moving forwards, and it's formidable. It's definitely formidable. So Ungor Raiders starting to get some good damage. You can see the Ungor Raiders are fairly far back. He has kept them far back. He does have enough spearmen knocking around that he can, you know, pull them back and defend against cavalry if he needs to. But having them nice and far back, it means that the front line, you know, he's not going to be able to just sort of have his front line move up and then summon zombies right on top. He's going to have to come forward with Manfred, and that's going to make him vulnerable to things like these Centaurs with throwing axes that can chase him around. So you see here, so he went in, put some zombies down, but he's so far forward, he's going to get hit a few times before he can get out of that fight. So having them all spaced out like this is very good. And the Centaurs, again, they're throwing axes at him, but they can also just run in, collapse on the zombies, and take him out very quickly. So it's very good just for dealing with that, you know, those problems that they always face. So here looks like another breath attack coming down. So yeah, another breath attack, not a bad hit, does a lot of damage to those Chaos Spawn. So in here you can see, big blob of undead here. And he's got some more spearmen just holding off all of these guys, so it's delaying these guys getting in the fight. So this is an easier fight for the vampire counts. Thing is, usually with most armies you don't want to blob up like this. But vampire counts in this matchup, it actually works great. Because they can just do one big area of effect heal, and they don't have to worry about any area of effect damage. So anything that comes in here is going to take the damage from the Mortis Engine. Anything that's within this aura is going to get healed, you know, for the vampire counts. And then they've got these mobile units just trying to pick off bits and bobs, you know, keeping away from the Centaurs, but doing some damage here and there. And because he's got these flying units flying around, it means that Scrible has to constantly react with these Centaurs to what's going on with these units, so he can't just use the axes to focus down the Mortis Engine, you know? So it's really rough. He starts focusing down the Mortis Engine, and the Terrorgeist and Manfred can do mad damage to something. So it's really rough. You know, you have to react a lot, but this is incredibly dangerous, this big blob here. So here, quick little dive, little opportunistic dive on Morgur there. But you see there's a lot of Chaos Spawn, a lot of spears in here, so it's pretty rough. But the Grave Guard, they're going to do great against the Spearmen, they've got no problems there. But the Chaos Spawn aren't going to pack a punch, so it's pretty rough. But yeah, more throwing axes coming in, but they're kind of hitting a bit of everything here. At the moment they're just hitting zombies. So here, you can see he's going to charge in again, try and wrap them up nice and quickly. Is that another breath attack coming in? It is. So does a lot of damage to the Chaos Spawn again, some pretty good damage to the Spearmen. So that's going to hurt a lot. But these Ungor Raiders, they are still applying a lot of pressure, you know. He's managed to wrap up one unit over here, another unit has been pulled forward. He's putting him back into a better position. But, you know, it's pretty rough for the Beastmen here. They're having to react to a lot happening, despite the fact that most of the vampire counts have just stood still. So it's a really good army, in the fact that you've just got this one blob. There you go, big group heal, Invocation on the Heck on the entire army there. You know, which just gets such good value out of those spells. But, you know, these flying units, they're just putting so much pressure, and all the micro is on these flying units. You know, you don't have to worry too much about this stuff, because it's just going to hold and fight. Although, it is looking a bit rough right now. They're going to be crumbling for some time, right? So, that means that these guys are going to sit and fight for a lot longer than they otherwise would, you know, against another army. This army would just rout, right, being surrounded if it was pretty much any other faction. But given the fact that it's, you know, the vampire counts, they're going to sit and crumble while these guys are still all taking damage. And while these guys are all taking damage, they're taking damage from the Mortis Engine, there's some more healing going on, so they're going to crumble even slower. It's really rough. So it doesn't look great for the vampire counts right now, but this will have an effect soon. You'll see leadership will start to hit. Right, Manfred, he's going to charge in, do some pretty solid damage. The Terrorgeist is coming in for the Bray Shaman, which will just eat that Bray Shaman for dinner. That guy's on a chariot, so that anti-large bonus is going to hit very hard. So here you can see another Invocation and a Hack on all of them, so they're going to be crumbling even slower again. Some of them are rallying, and the damage is still hitting these guys. You know, these Bestigors are taking more and more damage. They're just fighting Spearmen and Graveguard, you know. They should do well here, but the Mortis Engine is constantly sapping them. So here you can see the Bray Shaman got almost wiped out, and that is going to have a big effect on morale, because that is a pretty expensive unit, it's quite high value, and so it's going to help trigger army losses quicker. You know, they're going to get more, they're going to get scared, you know, once their big units start disappearing. And here, just to try and help trigger the rear charge, some Skeleton Warriors get summoned, so they're going to charge in the back, but they've already started breaking. So that's the thing, this army, you know, blobbed up like that, Invocation of the Heck will just heal the entire army. And that just means you get such good value. But against Beastmen that don't really have any big AoE damaging effects, you know, they didn't bring, you know, Pit of Shades, for instance. They didn't bring Law of Shadows with sort of Pit of Shades they could put on top of the whole army. So Pippington can afford just to blob up and just get maximum value out of the Mortis Engine and Invocation. So it's really dangerous, you know. It's just this horrible war of attrition that is very hard to win in this circumstance. So some great plays by the Beastman player here, you know, having the archers spaced out, you know, just making it so you get the maximum effect from that back line and the Centaurs, you know, with throwing axes. But it's just tough. The front line can't hold this in place long enough, you know. But you can see Manfred almost hit his healing cap. But all he has to do is kind of keep away, really. You know, at that point. You can be as risky as you like until he hits his healing cap, and then you have to be a little bit more careful. But that's about all you need to do, right? You can keep him away. He can outrun everything. Although the Centaurs do like they're getting some ammo back. But as long as you keep flying over your own army, you know, they have to path around. It's just very difficult. So here you see the Cryptor is very damaged, almost hit the healing cap as well. Well, they have hit the healing cap. So they're chasing things off. But unfortunately, Morga, just being surrounded by all this stuff, he slowly gets whittled down. And at that point, there's nothing left to, you know, keep the army together. So, yeah, fantastic match. I love when you see sort of an old tactic used well in a competitive match. Because you don't often see, you know, that sort of classic sort of vampire count, sort of, you know, just Death Star build, right? Just a big blob. But here it works, because Beastmen don't really have a good counter for that kind of behaviour. You know, you can just get maximum effect out of your spells as the vampire count, maximum effect from the Mortis engine, and there are enough targets flying around that you can't just focus the Mortis engine down. Because once that Mortis engine goes, they're going to lose the healing, they're going to lose the terror, so, you know, the other units aren't going to have as, they're going to have an easier time. They're not going to get routed as quickly, so they can stand and fight for longer, get more damage in before they break. But yeah, it just worked really well, and having Cryptor in there, these guys, with backup, they will last a long time. They regenerate on their own. They got poison attacks as well, so it's going to lower these guys' effectiveness at, you know, breaking into this Death Star. So it's really rough. It's really rough. This is a really solid build for this kind of thing. I'm not really sure what the Beastmen could have done. Maybe some Minotaurs, just something else with a bit more mass that has a bit more punch. Because, you know, there wasn't a lot of big, solid anti-large in this army. You know, the Chaos Spawn had a bit of mass, and he had a lot of spearmen to sort of back them up. But there wasn't a lot of solid anti-large. You know, he had the Centicles with throwing axes to harass large units, but he didn't have like the Minotaurs or great weapons that just go in and make sure stuff died quickly. But they are expensive and it can be risky. You know, especially with, God, you know, Blood Knights running around, or even the Terrorgeist will do some pretty good damage to him. So, and breath attacks, yeah, it's pretty rough. But I think he needed something with a bit more punch, just to help break through a possible build like this. It's definitely rough though. So really good game. So yep, thanks Pippington, thanks Scrible. This has been great. So yeah, I'll be casting some more games from this qualifying round of the Total War Fantasy League's qualifying tournament. So yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this, please do comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day, guys.